If you are an immigrant driving in the United States, whether you are a green card holder, a visa holder, a DACA recipient, or a naturalized citizen, what I am about to share with you could save you from losing thousands of dollars, losing your license, watching your insurance rate skyrocket, and in some cases, even putting your immigration status at serious risk. A man I recently helped, let's call him Marco, was driving home from work in Texas when he was pulled over for going just 6 miles per hour over the speed limit. 6 miles per hour. Under the old rules, he might have received a warning or a ticket for around $75. But under the new 2026 driving rules that have been rolling out across multiple states, Marco was handed a $300 ticket. And because he is a green card holder, that single ticket triggered an automatic insurance surcharge that will cost him an additional $1,200 per year for the next 3 years. One minor violation, nearly $4,000 in total costs. And that is just the beginning of what immigrants need to understand about the dramatic changes happening right now on American roads. My name is James. I have been a senior U.S. immigration professional for 6 years. And through Immigration News Today, I have made it my mission to protect immigrant drivers from consequences they never saw coming. Stay with me until the very end, because what I explain today could protect your wallet, your license, and your future in this country. Let me speak directly to you for a moment about why this matters so much. For most immigrants, a car is not a luxury. It is a lifeline. It is how you get to work, how you take your children to school, how you visit family, how you access health care, how you participate in the life of your community. When you first got your driver's license in the United States, it was probably one of the most empowering moments of your journey. It meant independence. It meant freedom. And when something threatens that, when the rules suddenly change and you do not know about it, the consequences can ripple through every part of your life. That is why I am making this video today. Because the driving landscape in 2026 is dramatically different from what it was even 2 years ago, and most immigrants have no idea how much has changed. As of date, multiple states across the country have implemented or are in the process of implementing significant changes to traffic enforcement, fine structures, and the way violations interact with insurance rates and, in some cases, with federal databases that can affect immigration status. These changes have been reported by transportation departments in individual states, covered by outlets like the Wall Street Journal and Reuters, and in some jurisdictions are the result of new legislation passed in 2024 and 2025. While the specifics vary from state to state, there are 5 major trends that every immigrant driver needs to understand, and I am going to walk you through each one in detail. The first major change is the dramatic increase in fine amounts for even minor speeding violations. In the past, most states had a graduated fine structure where going a few miles over the limit might result in a relatively small ticket, maybe $50 to $100. Under the new 2026 rules in many jurisdictions, those base fines have doubled or even tripled. More importantly, many states have added automatic surcharges and fees that are stacked on top of the base fine. In Marco's case, the base fine for going 6 over was actually $125, but after the state surcharge, the court fee, the emergency services fee, and the driver safety fund contribution were added, his total came to $304. This is the new reality in many states. A ticket that used to cost you less than a tank of gas can now cost you more than a month's worth of groceries. The second major change, and this one is particularly concerning for immigrants, is the implementation of what several states are calling high-risk driver surcharges that are automatically applied to insurance premiums for non-citizen drivers who receive any moving violation. This policy has been introduced in at least a dozen states and is being considered in several more. The rationale provided by insurance commissioners and state legislators is actuarial. They claim that certain categories of drivers have statistically higher claim rates and that risk-based pricing requires differentiated premiums. But the practical effect is that an immigrant who receives a single speeding ticket can see their insurance rates increase by $500 to $1,500 per year, and that increase can last for 3 to 5 years. This is on top of whatever fine they paid for the ticket itself. When you add it all up, a minor speeding ticket can end up costing an immigrant driver $4,000, $5,000, even $6,000 over time. Compare that to a citizen driver who might pay the same base fine but faces a much smaller insurance impact, and you can see why this is such a significant concern. The third major change relates to the lowering of DUI thresholds in states that have signed onto the new Interstate DUI Compact. Under the previous standard that applied in most states, the legal limit for blood alcohol concentration was 0.08%. Starting in 2026, more than 20 states that have joined this compact are lowering that threshold to 0.05%. For many people, this is the difference between 1 drink and 2 drinks. And here is where it becomes critically important for immigrants. The new compact includes automatic reporting to federal databases, which means that a DUI conviction, even at the lower 0.05 level, even with no accident and no injury, will be automatically flagged to USCIS and ICE. For green card holders and visa holders, a DUI can be considered a crime involving moral turpitude or a health-related ground of inadmissibility, which can affect your ability to renew your status, apply for citizenship, or in some cases, even remain in the country. I cannot stress this enough. The stakes for immigrants are fundamentally different than they are for citizens when it comes to DUI enforcement. The fourth major change involves significantly increased penalties for driving without a valid license. Under the old rules, driving with an expired license or no license at all was typically a misdemeanor with a fine of around $100 to $300. Under the new 2026 rules in many states, that fine has increased to $1,500 to $2,500. Your vehicle can be impounded for 30 days, and in some jurisdictions, the DMV now automatically notifies USCIS when a non-citizen is cited for driving without a valid license. This notification can trigger a review of your entire immigration file. I want to be very clear. I am not saying that driving without a license will automatically lead to deportation. That is not how it works. But I am saying that it can create complications in your immigration case that would not exist if you simply kept your license current. And given how easy it is to let a license expire, especially if you move and your renewal notice goes to an old address, this is something every immigrant needs to be vigilant about. The fifth major change relates to the real ID requirements that are now being strictly enforced at license renewal. If you are a green card holder or visa holder, you may have encountered this already. When you go to renew your driver's license, you are now required to provide proof of legal presence in the United States. This means bringing your passport, your green card or visa, your social security card, and 2 proofs of residency. If any of these documents are expired, missing, or do not match exactly, you will be denied a license renewal. I have heard from many viewers who showed up at the DMV expecting a simple renewal and left without a license because their green card had expired and they had not yet received their replacement, or because their name was spelled slightly differently on different documents. The message here is simple. Prepare for your license renewal well in advance, gather all required documents, and verify that everything matches before you go to the DMV. Now, let me share Marco's full story because it illustrates exactly how all of these changes can compound to create a perfect storm for an immigrant driver. Marco is a 43-year-old green card holder from Mexico. He has lived in the United States for 12 years. He works as a construction foreman, has 3 children who are U.S. citizens, pays his taxes, and has never been in trouble with the law. One evening in February 2026, Marco was driving home from work on a highway where the speed limit is 65 miles per hour. According to his speedometer, he was going 70. According to the officer's radar, he was going 71, 6 miles over the limit. Under the old system, this would have been a minor ticket, maybe $100, maybe less. Under the new 2026 rules in Texas, Marco's ticket came to $304. But that was just the beginning. Because Marco is not a U.S. citizen, his insurance company applied the high-risk immigrant driver surcharge to his policy at his next renewal. His premium increased by $100 per month, $1,200 per year. And because the surcharge lasts for 3 years following any moving violation, Marco is looking at $3,600 in additional insurance costs on top of the $300 ticket. Total cost for going 6 miles over the speed limit, nearly $4,000. Marco came to me in shock. He had no idea the rules had changed so dramatically. He had no idea that his immigration status would make such a difference in how the system treated him. And he wanted to know, what can I do to make sure this never happens again? So let me give you the same advice I gave Marco. 5 concrete steps every immigrant driver can take right now to protect themselves under the new 2026 driving rules. First, slow down. I know this sounds obvious, but it is the most effective protection you have. Set your cruise control at or below the speed limit whenever possible. Leave earlier for appointments so you are not tempted to speed. Remember that the cost of a ticket for an immigrant driver is now potentially $4,000 to $6,000. When you factor in insurance surcharges, that changes the calculus completely. Going 5 or 10 miles over the limit is simply not worth the risk. Second, check your driver's license right now. Look at the expiration date. If it expires within the next 6 months, start gathering your documents for renewal immediately. You will need your passport, your green card or visa, your social security card, and 2 proofs of residency such as utility bills or bank statements. Make sure all the names match exactly across documents. If there are any discrepancies, address them before you go to the DMV. Third, review your auto insurance policy. Call your agent or log into your account and understand exactly what your current premium is, what your coverage limits are, and what would happen to your rates if you received a moving violation. Ask specifically about any immigrant driver surcharges that might apply in your state. Having this information will help you understand the true cost of any potential ticket and will motivate you to drive more carefully. Fourth, if you drink at all, adopt a zero-tolerance policy for yourself when it comes to drinking and driving. The new 0.05 threshold is lower than most people realize. For many adults, this is 1 drink or less, and for immigrants, the stakes are simply too high. Use rideshare services, designate a driver, call a taxi, do whatever you need to do to ensure you never get behind the wheel after drinking anything. Fifth, set calendar reminders for all of your important dates: license renewal, registration renewal, insurance payment dates, everything. One of the most common ways immigrants get into trouble is through simple administrative oversights. Your registration expires, you forget to renew, you get pulled over for something minor, and suddenly you are facing multiple citations. A simple calendar reminder can prevent this entirely. I also want to address something that many immigrants worry about. What happens if you do get pulled over? Let me give you some guidance on how to handle that situation in a way that protects your rights while also keeping the encounter as smooth as possible. When you see police lights behind you, pull over safely and promptly to the right side of the road. Turn off your engine. If it is dark, turn on your interior lights. Keep your hands visible on the steering wheel until the officer approaches. When the officer asks for your license, registration, and insurance, provide them calmly and politely. If you are asked questions about your immigration status, you have the right to remain silent on that topic. But I generally advise people to simply stay calm and focused on the traffic matter at hand. Answer questions about the traffic stop itself. Were you aware of the speed limit? Where were you coming from? Where were you going? In a polite and straightforward manner. Do not argue with the officer, do not admit guilt, and do not make excuses. Simply be respectful, accept the ticket if one is issued, and address the matter later through the proper legal channels. If you receive a ticket and you believe it was issued in error, Or if you want to contest it to prevent insurance consequences, you have options. You can typically appear in court and contest the ticket, sometimes negotiating it down to a non-moving violation that will not affect your insurance. You can also often attend a defensive driving course in exchange for having the ticket dismissed or reduced. These options vary by state and by court, so check with your local traffic court or consult with a traffic attorney to understand your options. I know this is a lot of information, and I know some of it is scary, but I want to leave you with a message of empowerment. Yes, the driving rules in 2026 are stricter than they have ever been. Yes, the consequences for immigrants are disproportionately severe, but you have the power to protect yourself. You have the power to drive carefully, to keep your documents current, to understand the rules before you encounter them. Knowledge is protection. Preparation is protection. And that is exactly why Immigration News Today exists, to make sure you are never caught off guard by changes that could affect your life. If this video helped you understand the new 2026 driving rules and what they mean for immigrant drivers, please like it, share it with every immigrant driver you know, and subscribe to Immigration News Today with notifications turned on. I am tracking these changes across all 50 states, and you will hear about new developments here first. Before I go, my standard disclaimer. Everything I have shared today is for general informational purposes only. It is not legal advice. Traffic laws and insurance regulations vary by state and can change. Your individual situation may have unique factors. Please consult with a qualified professional, whether that is a traffic attorney or an immigration attorney, for advice specific to your case. Always verify information with official sources, including your state DMV and insurance commissioner. Policy can change, and the information I provided is accurate as of date. Thank you for trusting me with your safety on the road. Drive carefully, keep your documents current, and protect your future. My name is James, and this is Immigration News Today. Stay safe, stay informed, and I will see you in the next video. Take care of yourself and take care of each other.